So one of my favorite things to do is before a company actually reports earnings to be able to do a quick little analysis to see what is expected and where it currently sits. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. There's a handful of different stocks, not just these, but that are going to be reporting earnings this week. I wanted to break down the top 5 that are, in my opinion, the ones that I want to pay the most attention to. But you guys let me know down below which one is, again, the one that meets most of your criteria. So again, overall NASDAQ market, this is on the 4-hour time frame. I am using the Webull trading application. It is free and available in the US. It's the 5th link in the description down below. If you use my link, you'll earn up to 12 free shares if you have an initial deposit of at least $5. But we're looking at the NASDAQ market approaching previous highs. Again, we've previously been rejected here. Patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to. In my opinion, market's a little bit more on the overbought side. There's definitely some pullback potential, but we'll see. We'll see if this week we finally begin to see some pullback to the EMA. If we break below EMA and moving average, then maybe some pullback potential to 426 to maybe even lows of 415 based off of previous patterns. Again, it's really important to understand overbought, oversold, and overbought ranges because at one point, the profit potential does not outweigh the downside risk. And this is when it makes the most sense to prepare for those potential pullbacks. So again, the first one that I want to quickly talk about is Home Depot, which is ticker symbol HD. Ticker symbol HD, again, when looking at this on the 4-hour time frame, we get a larger perspective or a bigger perspective about, the overall movement and the price action, right? So we could see that it came from lows of 270, ran up to nearly 400. We recently pulled on back and it's tested the moving average. So it is a little bit more on the oversold side based off of recent patterns, but it's been experiencing this descending lower lows and lower highs. And it looks like when it reported earnings in the past before, we also saw some more sell-in pressure. Can that sell-in pressure continue? Well, I have it pulled up right on over here for expectation for May 14th, and that is an expectation of $3.60 per share or $36.66 billion for them to report for quarterly earnings or the first Q1 of 2024. So when looking at the overall expectation, you could see that even in the past before, they exceeded expectation, yet they did not perform the best. When looking back, I believe it was February of this year, right? So when looking at February of this year, when was the last time that they reported earnings? Let me look at this very quickly. So the last time was February 20th. So we can quickly see that. It's always really cool to be able to just look back to that given date. And it looks like we actually did see signs of an ascending uptrend pattern, higher highs, higher lows, ran up to 400, and then we gave it all back and ended up selling off. So again, when anytime something becomes overbought and you could see that downside potential, never be afraid to lock in profits. But now we're oversold enough that, hey, if they exceed expectation, can we see a nice little rally? There's definitely that upside potential. But again, looking at that moving average, we did see a lot of selling pressure recently. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it reacts to when it actually reports earnings. One of the things that I'd love to remind people is I don't personally like to buy right before a company reports earnings because, again, you never know what it's going to do. So therefore, after it reports earnings, if it gaps up or if it gaps down and there's a specific trade opportunity that ends up presenting itself, that's what I like to follow up with. So the other one that I quickly want to talk about is Alibaba. Alibaba, which is ticker symbol BABA. Based off of previous patterns, it was not performing the best. Let's look at the overall day chart. Yeah, I mean, they were going through their own issues in China. Lower lows, lower highs. It went from highs of $300 and currently now trading at lows of about $80 per share. It's been a strong descending pattern. Again, kind of like a lot of consolidation here, but based off of recent levels from overall oversold levels to overbought levels, you can see that it's a little bit more on the overbought side. Again, that's just on the technical side. But when we look at the overall fundamentals, let's go ahead and pull it up. So I'm going to pull up BABA, pulling it up right on over here. So let's go ahead and click on that, and we're just going to go under financials and earnings, and then we can see the market's expectation. So based off of the expectation for May 14th, we have an expectation of $10.27 earnings per share. That's the forecast, and $220 billion is what they're expected to report for Q1 of 2024. And it looks like based off of their previous earnings, they did not meet expectation. They did not meet revenue, and that was on February 7th. So I'm looking back to February 7th, again, just looking back very, very quickly. Let's see if I can pull it up here. It looks like we quickly gapped up and then gave it all back. So a lot of volatility. Now we're a little bit more on the overbought side. So if they don't completely exceed expectation, then be ready for a nice little pullback. Could present a nice little short opportunity down to lows of 70, or if it does pull on back, then potential dip buy opportunity if it validates that same previous support. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. The other one that I'm going to be paying attention to is Sony. Sony is ticker symbol SONY. Let's go ahead and pull this one up real quick. So when looking at this on the 4-hour time frame, a strong descending pattern to me. I don't necessarily view that to be very attractive. There's no very clear sense of direction of like, hey, I want to buy this. Like this thing has to recover, but it's oversold enough that if it does exceed expectation for its earning reports, then maybe we could see a gap up. But I could already see that there's some broken candles here, so it probably has low volume. And just like we expected, we see some broken candles here where there's no change in range within that given period, which tells me that this thing has very low trading volume, which means that it could be more easily manipulated. So let me go ahead and pull up the overall expectation for Sony very quickly. Again, you just go under financials, click under earnings, and then we can pull up the overall expectation, which is about 67 cents per share and about $19 billion for May 14th is the forecast for Sony. And based off of their previous reporting, they did exceed expectations, and that was February 14th. Let's see how that reacted. February 14th, it's going to be right around this general area. Yep, and it looks like they quickly gapped down. So I'm going to pull this up on the 4-hour time frame. It looks like on February 14th, although they exceeded expectation, their guidance might have been a little bit off, which caused the stock to sell off. That is one thing that I've said many, many times is reporting and exceeding earnings expectation is one thing. Guidance for up and coming quarters is often more important. So just another reason to pay attention to that. So again, it is oversold enough that if its guidance sounds better or it exceeds expectation based off of how much it's been selling off, kind of like we saw Tesla. Tesla was selling off almost all of 2024. And then when it reported earnings, or right before it reported earnings, Tesla was extremely oversold. So it wasn't much of a surprise that right when it reported earnings, it quickly gapped up. So I'm excited to see if it's going to be the same setup for Sony or if it just continues to sell off, showing more signs of lower lows and lower highs. As of right now, trading at a previous current price of $75 per share and previous highs of 100. The other one that I quickly want to talk about is going to be Progressive. We can pull that one up. So that's PGR. So PGR, let's go ahead and pull that one up real quick. Progressive trading at $215 per share. It's extremely overbought, but extremely bullish. With these kind of stocks, I don't like to bet against them. There's just no reason to. But again, it's a very, very bullish stock that if it does pull on back, again, I mean, that's a flip of a coin. But nonetheless, it's bullish probably for a reason. So when we pull this one up, let's go ahead and pull it up to get a better understanding on the overall market's expectation for their earnings. So pulling this one up, we can quickly see that, yep, it's been exceeding expectation. The last reporting was April, what is that? Oh, April 12th. Oh, April 12th. I do not know why it was pulled up in my chart. So it looks like ever since then, it's already gapped up. It's testing previous highs. Oh, my apologies. I thought that we had an expectation due to, yeah, it shows 515. Do I have something wrong here? PGR 516, but it doesn't pull it up here on investing.com. So I'll have to follow up with that to see if it's actually going to be reporting earnings on the 15th of May or if it's, again, just an error on my side. So let's just go ahead and move on to the next one. Walmart, which is WMT. WMT very, very quickly has pretty much been trading sideways based off previous patterns, showing strong signs of a resistance. When looking at this on the overall day chart, it's been an extremely bullish stock, but again, it's very overbought. So what's the profit potential versus the downside potential? A question to ask yourself. Obviously, this thing can gap up and go higher for longer, but does it outweigh the risk involved? That's the question to ask yourself. If we were to pull this up, let's go ahead and pull it up very, very quickly. So looking up at Walmart, based off of what they are expected to do or report for earnings. We can see it right here, May 16th, market's expectation, 51 cents per share. Overall forecast for revenue is $159 billion, and they've done really well in the previous quarters. So February 20th was the previous earning report. Pulling this up on the 4-hour time frame. So February, yep, quick gap up. Higher highs, higher lows, and it's been holding up there. There's just been no signs of a pullback. It's been kind of consolidating at highs of around $61 and lows of around $58.50, but no clear sense of direction. No higher highs, no lower lows as of right now. I'm just testing the same overbought levels. You guys let me know what you think. That's kind of a tricky one. I know a lot of people like to say, especially when investing in companies like this, they're like, oh, it's not about timing the market. Yes, I agree. When it comes down to investing long term, I agree that it's not about timing the market, but also, do I really want to buy at all-time highs? Like that there's no deal there, right? I would rather wait for something to happen. I mean, Walmart is a very good company, but I would also wait for something, dramatic to happen where it becomes very oversold and then buy into that, right? Because it's not about timing. It's just about when opportunity presents itself. So then when it pulls on back, that would make more sense to me to at least have some recovery potential instead of buying at all-time highs. And imagine that you buy at all-time highs, invest in that, and then it pulls on back. And then now you have to tolerate the time that it's going to take not only for it to sell off, find its support, but then now fully recover and then surpass previous highs. That just seems like, again, a much longer process. So when it comes down to investing in companies like this that are extremely bullish but extremely overbought, I think it's best to add it to your watch list, set alerts, and then once the opportunity does present itself, if it's an overreaction, then again be able to invest in more appropriate times when the deals are actually presenting themselves. And the only one that I really wanted to talk about was potentially Copart. So looking at Copart very quickly, we can see CPRT. Let's go ahead and pull this one up very quickly. So CPRT, based off previous patterns, an extremely bullish stock, a little bit more on the overbought side, and definitely some pullback potential. A lot of consolidation here for, it looks like, at least the past 2 months. So we'll see. Are we going to gap up or gap down? It looks like it's at a critical point, and we'll see after it reports earnings. I think that's going to be on Thursday after the market closes. As we can see, this half is after the market closes, and this half is before the market opens. So please make sure you take that into consideration. But again, overall NASDAQ market, you guys can be the judge for obviously what you think, but I think it's a little bit more on the overbought side. It's not that it can't go up higher. It's just that it's overbought enough that it has some pullback potential that I just want to begin to prepare for a potential reversal. That's what I like to do when anything begins to show signs of resistance and it's retesting a very overbought level, especially because there's a lot of downside potential to potentially make money as the markets sell off or prepare to be able to buy the dip on good quality companies once they become a little bit more on the oversold side. But again, these are all concepts that we talk about every morning within our live session. I'd love to see you there. I'm personally someone that learns so much better by watching someone else do. And if that's sounds like you, right? If you learn best by watching other people do, I'd love for you to tune on into my live sessions. You'd get to see my entries, my exits, my thought process, and answer any and every question in real time. So again, if you ever want to tune on in, second link in the description down below. If you sign up today, you can watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow. I appreciate your time. And like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.